that maybe bringing some of this up, there's many emotions, right? Because I'm even talking, as me and Jess, we were talking, we were sharing with each other, and I got a little teary-eyed thinking about my own parents, and same.
أنا لاحظت من التمرين ده إنه بيبقى فيه تفاعلات أو مشاعر كتيرة، وأنا كنت بشارك أسماء ولما اتكلمت عن آبائها أنا كمان حسيت إن أنا دمعت، فأنا متفهمة جدا إن النشاط ده بيحرك جوانا مشاعر كتير.
But this is the work that we do. This is the work that we do, but in order for us to understand our own emotions and where we're coming from, in order to be that advocate for the couples that come to us.
وده الشغل اللي احنا بنقوم بيه، ان احنا عشان مهم قوي ان احنا نفهم التفاعلات اللي حاصله جوانا عشان نقدر نبقى بنأدي الخدمه دي او بنفهم التفاعلات اللي حاصله في الازواج.
So let's share if anyone would be so kind to share anything, either strengths, challenges, or what you learned.
حد حابب يشارك معانا التحديات او نقاط القوه او الحاجات اللي اتعلمتوها من ابائكم؟
Yes. My name is Miriam, and I consider myself a global citizen. I'm Libyan. Both my parents are Libyan. I've lived in Egypt most of my life, but I've lived in a bubble with international students, so I've had friends from everywhere in the world for a very long time. So I've seen diversity a lot, and this is something I see that gave me strengths for the opportunities my parents decided to give me. But on the other hand, it caused challenges as well when it comes to the culture of not specifically my father, but perhaps my mother, who is very engraved in the Libyan segregated culture. There are major issues with gender roles. So that gave us there's like a different culture between us as children, my whole family, and my mom. Until today, this is still a big challenge, right? What I've learned is...
طيب انا حابه اشارك من خبرتي. انا اصلا بعتبر نفسي برضو مواطنه دوليه. انا اصلا من اصل ام واب ليبيين، وعشت في مصر، وعشت كاني كده في قوقعه من المدارس او التجارب الدوليه او الخبرات الدوليه، وده كان اداني من القوه، وفي نفس الوقت اداني قوه واداني برضو لخبطه او خاصه مع التعامل مع امي اللي كانت شويه عندها اشكاليات في الثقافه او البيئه بتاعتها، فكانت متقوقعه شويه.
What I've really learned is acceptance, and it's okay that some people are stuck in their own culture, and how to accept it, which is a challenge. What I've learned as well from the strength is being open and trying to put yourself in other people's shoes. And this was a very long process. I mean, I'm still learning.
أنا اتعلمت القبول، وإن أنا أقبل إنه ممكن يكون في ثقافات مقفولة على نفسها أو بتقوقع على نفسها، وإن أنا لسه بتعلم، وإن ده تحدي بالنسبة لي قبول الواقع ده.
شكرا مريم. Thank you so much. Let's give clap. I have very similar experience to you. So, but enough about you.
أنا عندي خبرة مماثلة ليكي يا مريم، ولكن هكتفي بالحديث عن نفسي يعني.
Can we have one more thought on here? Strengths, challenges, or what you learned?
ممكن حد كمان يشاركنا؟
Okay.
My name is Phoebe.
Phoebe?
One strength of our family was we used to play a lot. This is a joyful memories for me. We're not judgmental. No one would judge the crazy things we do. Like I used to, every now and then, come with a crazy idea to do in the house, and no one would judge. They would accept. Yes, like I was painting all of there's windows and everything, and I don't know how to paint even. No one was judging. They were accepting. We never have a comparison as children. You have to accept who you are and work on yourself. Don't care about others. We have no violence also at home, and we're very religious, so this I think benefited me a lot. One of the weaknesses, and I think this is a major weakness, we have somehow invalidation
خلص
or
الجزئيه الاول. طيب انا حابه اشارككم بنقاط القوه اللي كانت في اسرتي، ان احنا كنا بنلعب او بنضحك مع بعض كتير، وان ما كانش عندنا احيان كنت ممكن ارسم في اي حته او الون مع اني ما بعرفش او اجيد الرسم في البيت، وان ما كانش فيه مقارنات او تنافس، وانه احنا كنا عيله متدينه او قدر من التدين. النقاط السلبيه
my mom, because my father has died very early when I was 9. So my mom somehow she chose to invalidate our emotions because she don't know how to deal with emotions at all or any problem. I don't think she meant it or she knows that she's doing it. But even if you are sick, she will invalidate this. No, you're not sick. So I think this is the most weakness we have.
والدي توفى وانا عندي 9 سنين، وامي كانت مش بتوكد مشاعري حتى في اوقات المرض. انا كنت بلاحظ ده ان هي مش بتقدر توكد مشاعري.
What I learned is to care about others and be persistent and
اللي اتعلمته ان انا اخد بالي او ارعى الاخرين، وان انا ابقى عندي مثابره.
Okay, shukran. Thank you so much. So this is just the start of this process. Many of us as clinicians have already done a lot of work, like myself has done a lot of work about from my family of origin, but we're lifelong learners in this field, especially when it comes to our parents.
ودي نقطة البداية في العملية العلاجية، ان احنا بنسأل او بنتعلم عن بيئتنا الأساسية التربوية.
Okay, so we're now going to shift. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what successful parenting teams are. And again, this is just an overview and sort of the tip of the iceberg. So there's just many more to talk about. So I will just go through this slide a little bit.
هنتكلم عن فرق الآباء التربويين الناجحين، ودي بقى كأنها قمة الهرم، فهنمشي عليها بسرعة.
Okay, so who are part of these teams? It's really anyone who raises the children. It's not just the parents. It's not just the mother or the father. It is the caregivers in your home. It is also the tutors, the maids, and everyone who has a significant impact in raising the child that will lead to how they build relationships later as adults.
هو الفريق ده هو مش بس مقتصر على الاب والام، ولكن اي حد موجود في البيئه التربويه من مدرسين او عاملين في المنزل، اي حد بيكون ليه تاثير في تشكيل شخصيه الطفل في العلاقات بعد كده.
And what do we mean by successful? I'm not necessarily saying effective because that depends on the family unit. But what is successful is mutual commitment. You are committed to raising your children.
النجاح او كلمه الناجحين انا بعني بيه الالتزام، الكوميتمنت. مش شرط يبقى الافكتفنس او الفاعليه، لكن بعني بيه هو الالتزام في الرعايه او المسانده.
You are providing support. You appreciate the fact that you are in the position of raising the children. You hopefully will be, as much as you can, aligned with each other to be what I consider a united front, although that's where the conflict is, that's the difficulty. You are flexible at times, knowing we can start with a pursuer and withdrawer. You plan together, not separately, and you are open to feedback, which some couples believe is criticism.
طيب احنا بنقدم المسانده او السبورت وبنقدر ادوارنا في الفريق ده، وبيبقى في عندنا قدر من المرونه او الحركه، وبنخطط مع بعض او سويا، وبنبقى منفتحين لتلقي الردود.
So why do you think we would want successful parenting teams? Anyone have thoughts? Why? I mean, we have things here, but what else?
حد حابب يشاركنا باشياء اخرى ان احنا ليه مهتمين يبقى عندنا الفريق الناجح التربوي؟
Because this is a reflection of how they're going to take on like the certain roles and rules that are happening in the family, and they're going to pass it on to their next generation and so on.
Yes.
لان ده بيعكس الادوار اللي بيقوموا بيها في الفريق ده وبيتنقل الدور ده في المراحل او الاجيال اللي بعد كده.
Yes, we are models of what types of relationships they invite or then become. So we can become the mother, we can become the father, or we can continue the challenge or the weakness that we've been trying so hard to avoid, but then we do it.
لان احنا النماذج او احنا النموذج اللي بيضفي هذه الادوار على الابناء، واحنا بعد كده بنبقى احنا بنتمثل في الاباء او الامهات دول او الحاجات اللي احنا نفسنا كانت تبقى عندنا او بنمثلها بالاباء دول.
So this is preventative. I come from a very preventative standpoint, strength-based, positive, that you will not be, as a clinician, actually harming your clients.
وده بنعمله كشيء وقائي او شيء فيه الثبات الايجابي، ان احنا بنبقى مش عايزين نضر العملاء بتوعنا.
And then we would want to address the obstacles and the conflicts, but really more of an advocate and a supporter of the couple.
وعايزين نتطرق للobstacles او العوائق وكأننا مناهضين او مناضلين من اجل ان احنا ندي السبورت او الدعم ده للازواج.
And we do our own reflection or seek supervision, reflective supervision, and we evaluate our own our own group culture in addition to our work with parents.
وبنحاول نتأمل في أنفسنا أو نعكس اللي اتعلمناه في أنفسنا، ودايما بنحاول إن احنا ندخل في عمليات إشرافية.
When do we do this? All the time, but don't get so exhausted that you can't be present with your clients.
وبنعمل ده على طول الوقت مش في وقت معين، بس أهم حاجة ما تبقوش مرهقين وانتوا بتعملوا ده مع العملاء بتوعكم.
And we'll talk about the strategies in a minute.
هنتكلم عن الاستراتيجيات للوصول إلى الأبواء أو التربية الناجحة في دقيقة.
So we all did the self-reflective activity in regards to our parents. So now we're going to be talking about the obstacles because we heard Miriam, a little bit about myself, Asim, and also Phoebe talking about some of those challenges or obstacles. So we'll talk a little bit about this because again, this could creep into the work that we do.
بعد ما عملنا النشاط اللي عكسنا فيه على انفسنا، هنتكلم دلوقتي عن التحديات اللي زي ما سمعنا من كذا حد ايه التحديات اللي قابلتهم.
So many of the obstacles or conflicts or challenges can be a parallel process. What I mean by that is that it's us as a clinician and also our clients, and we see similar things.
هو جزء من التحديات وكأنها عملية فيها توازي، ان هو بتتعلق بينا احنا وبتتعلق بالعميل اللي قصادنا.
So here are the three areas when we think about obstacles in developing successful parenting teams. Your own parents, so that is the parents parenting with origin, the actual couple, that their problems to you feel like there are problems and there's obstacles, or they identify that, and then they identify that their children are problems for whatever that reason is.
طيب العوائق هي عملية فيها 3 مراحل، فيها أنا كمعالج وفيها بيئتي أو أسرتي بتاعة المنشأ، وفيها الكابل أو الزوجين اللي أنا بشتغل معاهم وبيئتهم، وفيها المرحلة الثالثة أولادهم اللي هم بيشتكوا منهم.
Sometimes our communication styles don't match. So maybe me as a clinician, I don't have good communication with the couple, or it's not a good fit. Or, for example, there's clashing of communication styles between the couple.
أحيانا طريقتي في التواصل مع الزوجين أو العملاء بيبقى فيها عدم توافق أو بيبقى فيها تناحر.
Or the way that the couple's parent is not a good fit for each one of their children.
أو طريقة تربية الأبوين نفسهم لأولادهم هي مش متوافقة مع بعض.
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. Okay, I'm going to give you an example for like my husband and I.
هديكم مثل عن أنا وزوجي.
Okay, so I was brought up, and this goes into the parenting styles, I was brought up with parents who were very aggressive. It was, you listen to me or else you get a consequence.
طيب هتكلم عن بيئة منشأي أنا التربوية أو عن أبوية، وهم كانوا أبوية كانوا صارمين قوي، يا اما تعملي اللي بنقول لك عليه او كانت هتحصل لها مشاكل.
My husband grew up in a family, they're art dealers, and everything is wonderful. Everything is great, and he was brought up in a permissive household, which means there were not a lot of rules.
Art dealers?
Art.
Dealers?
The art, like paintings and
Yeah.
yes, like artistic. Yes.
على ما أكيد بيئة زوجها أو أهل زوجها كانت البيئة فيها كانت بيئة فنية أو وثرية وكانوا كل شيء مسموح به.
Okay, so when we were dating and thinking about getting married and things like that, we already talked about a lot that we wanted children, but we talked about where we came from. Not all couples do that, but we did.
لما ابتدينا نتعرف على بعض كنا بنتكلم عن بيئاتنا المختلفة وده شيء مش كل الأزواج أو بيتعرفوا على بعض بيتكلموا فيه بس إحنا فعلا اتكلمنا فيه.
Because what usually happens, this is my experience when I've done couples therapy in the 11 years of my private practice and even working with parents in hospitals, that when we're stressed, we revert back to how we were parented.
وده اللي اشتغلت فيه على مدار 11 سنة وأنا بشتغل مع الأزواج حتى في المستشفيات إن إحنا لما بنشعر بالتوتر وكأننا بنرجع لورا الخطوة لورا اللي حصل فينا من أبوينا.
Okay, and then we have 3 different children at 3 different ages, 3 different parts of development, and we also have a child with special needs.
وكمان عندنا 3 أبناء في مراحل نمو أو تطور مختلفة واحتياجات مختلفة خاصة للطفل الثالث اللي مصاب بالتوحد.
So this is the complexity of the work, although I find it to be very fun. Well, fun is all relative, I guess, but just, I think it's meaningful work because I personally believe part of my core value is that if we get a family on the right page early, before they have children, then it might take away from many like abuses or things like that later on.
وده اللي انا بشوفه في شغلي انا بستمتع بيه هو في جزء من المرح طبعا مرح نسبي بس انا مهتمه قوي انه لو حصل التوافق ده بين الزوجين قبل ما ينجبوا ابناء هيجنبنا مشاكل كتير جدا بعد كده.
So here just in this slide, so here are some of the other obstacles. There's already issues of relationship, that's why you're seeing them. There's no responsibility of parenting at all. There's one person who is totally withdrawn and doesn't want to parent at all. And there's one of the partners who can't regulate their emotions or show emotion.
جزء من العوائق دي انه اصلا العلاقه نفسها بين الزوج والزوجه هي فيها مشاكل وان بتبقى فيها عدم مسؤوليه محدش عايز يشيل مسؤوليه المشاكل دي وكمان فيها عدم تنظيم للمشاعر بتاعتهم وفي ادوار فيها شويه من عدم المرونه او الصلابه وان القيم بتبقى مختلفه بين الزوجين وان في حد بيقلل من شأن الدور اللي بيلعبه الاخر.
Then the last 3 is the roles are very rigid. There's no flexibility at all. You have very different core values of how you want to raise your children. And you don't praise or are a partner with your spouse.
زي ما قلنا الريجيديتي او الصلابه وعدم المرونه واختلاف القيم الحاكمه وان احنا بنقلل من شأن الاخر او مش بنديله حقه.
Okay, so we left just a little bit of the discussion on what is and all of that goes into a successful or the pieces of the successful parenting team. Now, in addition to that, what we hope is positive parenting. Okay, who here has heard of this?
طيب احنا اتكلمنا عن الاجزاء او المكونات بتاع الفريق التربوي الناجح، احنا دلوقتي بنتكلم عن ايه اللي بيدينا امل انه يبقى في تربيه ناجحه. في حد سمع عن الموضوع ده قبل كده؟
Why are we talking about this? We know in the research in positive psychology and positive parenting and child development that children who are brought up in this way, like globally, build healthy adult relationships later and know how to navigate conflict.
لان احنا اتعلمنا من الابحاث في مجالات علم النفس او نماء الاطفال انه الاطفال اللي بينموا في البيئات التربويه الناجحه بيبقوا هم بالغين او قادرين على عمل علاقات ناجحه بعد كده.
So I'm not going to go through who and the why because I think I already talked about that, but I'm going to spend most of my time with this slide talking about what it is.
احنا اتكلمنا عن مين هم الافراد او الاجزاء واتكلمنا عن ليه ده مهم او التربيه الايجابيه مهمه ليه. دلوقتي احنا بنتكلم ازاي او استراتيجيات التربيه.
Okay, so again, I'm going to say that I am not from this culture, so all of this, what I'm going to say of what is it, is very contextual.
طيب عشان انا مش جايه من الثقافه او المجتمع بتاعكم فكل اللي انا هقوله ده هو مرتبط بسياق معين.
Okay, so what is it? You are responsive and sensitive, and this is not just you are responsive and sensitive to your children. You are responsive and sensitive to each other.
طيب ايه هو ماهيه التربيه الايجابيه؟ ان انت كنت responsive او بيبقى عندك رد فعل تجاه ابنائك وعندك قدر من الحساسيه.
So I'm going to draw from my culture, which is Filipino American, but really the Filipina side. That in the Filipino culture, traditionally the man, I was going to say call the shots, but the man is dominant and makes decisions and sometimes is not responsive potentially to my thoughts.
طيب انا هتكلم عن ثقافتي انا او بيئتي اللي هي اكثر فلبين اكثر من الامريكيه انه الرجل هو ليه قدر من السياده او السائد في البيت.
Okay, so then I may not think that my husband in a traditional Filipino society would be sensitive to understand what my needs are and how I'm trying to parent, for example, as the stay-home parent.
وكأن هو الرجل في المجتمع الفلبيني مش هيبقى عنده قدر من الحساسية للتربية بتبقى عاملة ازاي او ايه المطلوب مني انا وزوجة في البيت.
And because I was brought up in an aggressive household, that sometimes the way that they parented me was not encourage positive behavior because it was more fear-based. So for example, you do this or else you're going to get a spanking. Or you do this because it's not framed in a positive way.
وعشان انا اتربيت في بيئه فيها قدر من الصرامه او الصلابه او الاجريشن كان فيها قدر من الخوف مش التربيه الايجابيه اللي بنتكلم عنها وكانه تبعات العمل لو عملتي ده او ما عملتيش ده هتنالي قدر من العقاب.
So we also believe, if you believe in positive parenting, is that children are good.
وعشان كده لو احنا مؤمنين في التربيه الايجابيه احنا بيبقى عندنا قناعه ان الاطفال هم اصلا بالاصل جيدين.
So then they see us as the grown-ups with the bad habits.
وبعد كده بيشاهدونا احنا كبالغين باساليبنا او عاداتنا السلبيه.
So as I said before, this way of parenting through successful parenting teams then allows them and allows us and your clients as a couple to build healthy relationships, hopefully for them to be stronger as a couple, even if it's just for their children.
وعشان كده مشاهدتنا للتربيه الايجابيه هي اصلا بتنعكس على الازواج اللي احنا بنشتغل معاهم وبتساعدهم ان هم يطبقوا ده ويبقوا ناجحين مع ابنائهم.
We are also showing our children that we are communicating in a respectful way that shows trust and shows that we have goodwill towards each other.
وعشان كده طريقه التواصل دي بتنعكس على اولادنا او بتوريهم ان في قدر من الثقه في التعامل مع بعضنا البعض والنيه الحسنه.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions before we go into the strategies, or does this make sense?
When you're speaking about encouraging positive behavior, are you talking from the perspective of the mother towards her children, or the partners?
Both. Well, first of all, you have to feel positive about yourself. So that's intrapersonal, and then interpersonal between your partner, your husband, wife, between you, because they can feel it, the children, and then your children.
هو التواصل الجيد ده بيبتدي ان انا بكون متواصل مع نفسي الاول، وبعد كده ببقى قادر اتواصل مع الشريك بتاعي، لان ده بينعكس على الاطفال.
So that could include, based on what you said, your words, what you don't say, and your facial expressions. But at the same time, you don't want to be smiling if you're angry.
وده بيتضمن الكلمات اللي بتقوليها، وكمان تعبيراتك الغير لفظيه او حركات جسمك، انه انت مش عايزه تكوني مثلا رسمه ضحكه صفراء وانت مثلا غضبانه.
Like, so my husband knows when I'm angry. I'm not smiling, and I don't talk because I like to talk.
زوجي بيقدر يلاحظ امتى انا غضبانه، ببقى مش مبتسمه خالص، وببقى ممتنعه عن الكلام لان انا اصلا رغايه.
And our kids know this too. Our kids know this too, so they will say, "Mom, are you okay if I'm not talking?"
والاولاد كمان بيلاحظوا ده وبيسالوني هل انت كويسه لما يلاحظوا ان انا مش بتكلم.
Any other questions? Is this clear? Am I being simple?
Yes.
Okay.
Extremely clear.
كل شيء واضح.
All right, so before we go into the actual strategies based on the work I've done with couples and consulting globally, is something we need to think about that is broader.
بناء على خبرتي في تقديم الاستشارات او المشوره للازواج في مجتمعات عالميه، عايزين نبص للموضوع ونتخيله كشكل واسع او بنظره واسعه.
Okay, we as clinicians are human. We are not perfect. We're not perfect in our own personal lives. Our clients and couples are not perfect.
احنا كبني ادمين كمعالجين، احنا بني ادمين في المقام الاول، واحنا مش كاملين، والازواج اللي بيجوا لنا عملاء كمان اللي بيجوا لنا مش كاملين، فما فيش حد في العمليه كامل.
There is no such thing as a perfect parent.
مفيش حاجه اسمها الاب او الام المثاليين او الفظاع، ما عندهمش غلطه يعني.
And if you are a perfect parent, I want to know you.
لو حد شايف نفسه ان هو مثالي، انا احب اتعرف عليه الصراحه.
We can talk later.
مع بعض.
Each child is unique and is at their own developmental area. Each child, even if they're twins or triplets, or they're all different.
كل طفل هو مميز او عنده قدر من التميز، حتى لو كان الطفل ده عنده توائم او توأم، فكل منهم ليه نقاط التميز بتاعته.
So if you've made mistakes one day, each day is a new day.
لو عملتوا اخطاء يوما ما، فكل يوم هو يوم جديد.
I believe if there's effort, like it, because I'm a professor, then you get an A. If there is effort, you get an A. And sometimes you want your couples and clients to go from this point all the way to this point in the next session. But every client and couple is different in a unique case. And also, you have to see their little movements and baby steps. And praising them is so wonderful for encouragement, and that's positive behavior too.
طيب عشان انا مدرسه، فانا مؤمنه انه كل مجهود بيترتب عليه النتيجه. تعمل مجهود تجيب امتياز او تجيب ايه. احنا بنبص للازواج برضو، بنبقى عايزين ننقلهم من نقطه لنقطه ثانيه، بس احنا مهتمين ان احنا نشوف البيبي ستيبس او الخطوات الصغيره اللي بتنقلهم من المكان اللي هم فيه لحد نقطه النجاح دي.
Praise everyone who raises your children. So for me, because we have a child with special needs, our youngest, we have 3 rotating caregivers, and sometimes they're not perfect, but when they show some effort, I say, thank you so much, very good job, I would like this, but thank you so much for trying.
احنا محتاجين نثني على التربويين او اي حد بيقوم برعايه وتربيه الابناء. يعني على سبيل المثال، انا عشان عندي طفل ذوي احتياجات خاصه، عندنا 3 بيقوموا بمساعدتنا في المنزل، وانا ببص لل3 دول وبثني على مجهودهم، حتى لو ما وصلوش للحاجه اللي انا كنت بتمناها او عايزاها، بقول لهم شكرا على المجهود اللي انتوا عملتوه.
And remember, it's all about perspective. So when I get really upset with my husband, or I'm like, oh my goodness, why is this wife thinking this way, and I want to make a facial expression, I realize this person is not me.
مهم قوي ناخد بالنا من المنظور، كل واحد بيبص من منظوره هو. فلو عندي ازواج والزوج قال حاجه ضايقتني مثلا وبان على تعبيرات وشي، فمحتاجه افكر نفسي انه ده منظوري انا مش المنظور اللي بيبص بيه هو.
So let's move on to strategies. This is, I think Aman was talking about a structure. Okay? So this is what I've done in my own home with my own husband, in our family and our team, and with couples. Okay, the couples that I've seen, the diversity of the couples that I mentioned.
طيب احنا هنتكلم دلوقتي عن الاستراتيجيات، وايمان كانت اتكلمت عن الهيكله او البناء الخارجي، وانا بطبق الاستراتيجيات دي سواء على مستوى بيتي الشخصي او مع الازواج اللي انا بتعامل معاهم.
So all of these three, I would say, modules or areas can happen at any point when they come to you. However, the best situation, especially for pre-assessment, would be couples who are thinking about having children or they have very young children.
طيب فالثلاث مراحل او النقاط دول في الاستراتيجيات وممكن يحدثوا في اي مرحله من مراحل العلاج، سواء الزوجين او العملاء جايين في مرحله ما قبل التقييم ان هم عايزين لسه ياخدوا قرار ان هم يجيبوا ابناء.
And you can move fluidly through all of these steps.
وممكن ننتقل بسلاسه او بطلاقه خلال المراحل دي او الخطوات دي.
Okay, so we all did the reflective activity. You could have your couples do that for one session, and that gives you a lot of information about where they're coming from. And again, another tip is that I don't call it necessarily therapy. If maybe one of them, like my husband's like, what, we're going to therapy? I go, yes, I mean, we're going to therapy because we want to be the best parents that we could be. But our therapist, especially with our youngest, when we had to think about how we were going to raise a child with special needs, it was more of our therapist, like, this is now just a conversation.
طيب احنا لما عملنا النشاط التأملي ده او الانعكاسي ده ممكن نعمله في اول الجلسات مع الازواج، لان ده بيدينا معلومات كتير جدا عنهم. وان انا لما انا وزوجي رحنا للثيرابيست او المعالج عشان مشكله ابننا، كان بيتساءل ازاي ان احنا هنروح لعلاج، فكنت بقوله ان احنا محتاجين نوصل لاحسن حاجه عندنا.
So each one of these can be a session, or it could be multiple sessions for each one of these. You don't necessarily have to go in order, but sometimes when you ask the couples and say, why are you here? Maybe it might even touch on some of these things.
كل نقطة من دول ممكن تبقى جلسة قائمة بذاتها أو تكون مجموعة من الجلسات، ومش لازم نمشي فيهم بالترتيب، لأنه أحيانا لما بنسأل الأزواج أنتوا جايين ليه هنا النهاردة في الجلسة، فممكن يبقى الترتيب مختلف.
So the goal is for the parenting team, for them to be successful, is to be on the same page. They're a united front, and the second point here really helps with that, because if you see any points of similarity in their parenting or how they were parented, then that maybe is the starting point as opposed to focusing on the differences.
طيب مهم قوي انه عشان نوصل للتربيه الايجابيه دي ان الفريق ده او الزوجين دول ان هم يكونوا متحدين، لان هم لما بيفتكروا او بيسترجعوا اشياء من بيئتهم التربيه من الماضي لو مش متحدين ده هيخل بالعمليه.
The other thing that's really important is, as a couple, as a united front, is what are your values as a family? Not every it's a whole unique system. Not every family has the same values and want to raise their children in the same values.
تاني شيء مهم هي القيم الحاكمة للأسرة دي، لأن مش كل أسرة أو عيلة عندها نفس القيم الحاكمة لتربية أولادها.
Okay.
Cut question.
Okay.
Can you explain the family values?
Okay.
Elaborate.
Okay. So I'll just use me. Okay, or a case. So family values are things, because many of the couples that I saw or see, they're interracial, like my family and my husband, and so their values from a cultural standpoint conflict, or a social status standpoint.
طيب انا هضرب مثال بنفسي من عيلتي، عشان احنا في العيله عندنا تعدد الجنسيات او الاجناس، فوكأن القيم بتبقى فيها اختلاف او صراع بين الاب والام.
Okay, so our core values are we don't harm ourselves and we don't harm anybody else. That's one of our core values.
فأحد قيمنا الحاكمة إن إحنا لا بنأذي أنفسنا ولا بنؤذي الآخرين.
That, like these are rules. This is part of who we are as Dr. As Perez Pranian is my husband's name, Pranian. This is our family. So that's one. Number two, our family believes in God.
القيمة الحاكمة الأولى إنه سواء دكاترة أو أشخاص أنا وزوجي إن إحنا ما بنأذيش لا أنفسنا ولا بنأذي حد. والتاني قيمة حاكمة إن إحنا بنؤمن في وجود الإله.
We also believe as a parents that whether you're a boy or whether you're a girl, we will give you opportunities and we believe in your potential.
واحنا كمان مؤمنين كآباء انه سواء انت ولد او بنت ان احنا مؤمنين بكفاءاتك وهنديها المساحه انها تخرج.
And we come into every relationship or situation appreciative. We appreciate things and we appreciate people.
وبنقابل او بنواجه اي مشكله او حدث بقدر من الامتنان. احنا ممتنين لانفسنا وممتنين للاخرين.
But some families don't have that. So some couples that I've worked with, their core values are they need to make the most money. Money is their core value.
ولكن مش دي كل القيم اللي موجوده في العائلات الاخرى. فمثلا انا بشتغل مع ازواج القيمه الحاكمه في اسرتهم ان هم لازم يجيبوا فلوس.
Or they don't believe in God.
أو إن هم مش مؤمنين بوجود إله.
Or they want their children to be the top of their class, go to a very expensive university, and they will not accept anything less.
أو إن هم بيكونوا يطالبوا أبنائهم إن هم يبقوا الأوائل على الفصل بتاعهم أو يدخلوا جامعات غالية جدا وما عندهمش قيم تانية غير دي.
Is that helpful? Okay.
أنا عايزة أسأل البوينتس اللي احنا بنتكلم فيها دي as a family therapy وبيكون الزوج والزوجة أو الأب والأم والأطفال ولا احنا زي ما بنعمل في الفاميلي بنعمل في الكابل والزوج والزوجة هما اللي بنتكلم في البوينتس دي.
Are you talking in terms of the family therapy perspective? It's like the woman or the man, the female, and the children. You're talking from a family therapy perspective that includes the female and the male, or the husband and the wife and their children, or
we are talking about couple therapy, but the same structure, more or less like the family therapy, the wife and the husband. So I'm confused.
It can be all of this. You can start.
Both of them.
Yeah, so this is how I've done it in the past, depending on where the couple is at or who comes first. So if the whole family comes, then I might go through some of this. If just a couple comes, or the wife comes, which is typical for me, just the wife comes and then says, I'm bringing my husband, and then the husband doesn't want to come. So it depends. So all of this can be addressed as a couple or an individual, and it can also be addressed in the family, especially like if it's okay, the parents want to tell their children in the family session what is the children are confused. We want to raise you to be this. Like maybe the children don't even know what the expectations are of their parents. So it can be everything. All of this, everything that I'm going to talk about, the pre-parenting and post, can be family. Any of these questions or any of these areas can be family, can be individual, or can be couples.
Another question, can I say
طيب هي كل النقاط دي هي ممكن تطبيقها من منظور علاج أسري وعلاج زواجي. الأمر بيتطلب إنه إزاي مين اللي هيجي للجلسة؟ هل هم هيجوا كعيلة مع بعض ولا هتيجي الزوجة لوحدها وهتقول لي زوجي مش راضي يجي؟ ومسموح في حالات إن إحنا بندمج الأبناء وبنخليهم حتى يسمعوا هم الآباء مستنيين منهم إيه أو عايزين منهم إيه. فكل النقط دي ممكن تطبيقها سواء على العلاج الزواجي أو العلاج الأسري على حسب السياق.
Okay, so I just want to also say that again, based on my perspective and my background, my recommendation is the couple or the family, the parents, need to have a united front first before they talk to their children. Because that's what my husband and I do. If there's like an issue or a problem, we agree on how we're going to tell our children. We're not going to be, oh, go to mommy and then, or go to daddy, and then they get different messages. So they would need to do this, they would need to do this, they would need to agree on this, they would need to agree on this. This one would be the one maybe that you would talk to in family therapy. This, you don't necessarily want to see them arguing in family therapy unless you want to see that happening. And then this, they need to come up with rules in order to tell their children what those rules are.
طيب بناء على خبرتي وعلى بيئتي التربوية هو شيء مهم جدا ان الاب والام يكونوا على قلب رجل واحد في مواجهة المشاكل، ما يبقوش بيقولوا للابناء او روح لماما او روح اطلب من بابا، لا يكونوا متحدين وبيواجهوا المشاكل مع بعض ويكونوا متفقين على اول 4 نقاط دول. يمكن ال3 نقاط اللي تحت دول اللي احنا محتاجين نشتغل عليهم من منظور العلاج الاسري او الفاميلي ثيرابي.
Because the message is you want your children to know that the parents are, they feel safe, they know what they're doing, and if they make mistakes, okay, they make mistakes, but that they're leading the family.
لانه هو محتاج يوصل للابناء الرسائل ان هم في بيئه امنه وانه مسموح ليهم بفعل الاخطاء، وان هم لو عملوا فعلا اخطاء او ارتكبوا اخطاء فالاب والام هم اللي بيقودوا العيله او الاسره.
So I don't know if that is the context here in Egypt, but in the families and the couples that I've worked with, we want to empower the parents. We don't want the children to be the parents and tell the children what to do.
So therefore, I want to ask how can I ask about the father and the mother, what type of child do you want to raise? It's not my rule and it's not his rule. And what I understand is it's not my rule. من حقي it's not حقي. It's not my right. It's not my right. Yes, it's not my right to raise my child to something. It's not my right.
Okay.
طيب انا ما اشتغلتش هنا مع ذات مصر الاول، انا لكن اهم حاجه ان احنا نمكن الاب والام ان هم يبقوا قائدين في العمليه التربويه. واسماء بتسال انه لا، هو مش من حقي انا كاب او ام ان انا املي التربيه على اولادي.
لا هي بتقول ان هو انتوا عايزين تطلعوا اولادكم ايه؟ ده اللي انا فهمته. فهو انا بتساءل، هو انا من حقي اسال سؤال زي كده قدام الاطفال؟ واصلا لو هو قال لي انا عايزه اطلع ابني محارب قوي مثلا، دكتور، هل ده انا هقدر هل ده مسموح لي في جلسه؟
If a parent has the wish that his son becomes a warrior, a fighter, or something like that, are we allowed to discuss this discussion?
Well, I get. What?
10 minutes.
Oh no. Okay. That depends on the cultural context here, what is important in the culture, and what is agreed upon by the couple. Now, if that's not, I personally, just like when I think about my husband and I, that's why I have the values and the rules that are, we talk about it more for values and not, we want you to be, like for us, we don't say, we don't want. So this one really is, what are your hopes and wishes? Like, I want my child to be a good person, like that. Not, I want my child to be the president of this oil company, or I want my wife, I might want my daughter to marry someone well off and have 7 children and stay at home and not go to school. Like that I don't think this is what I mean here. What I mean here really is related to this. Like, you are from the Perez Peranian family. To bring honor to us, this is our core value. This is our like legacy.
I think one.
طيب هو الامر يا اسماء بيعتمد على شقين، هي السياق المجتمعي اللي بنشتغل فيه، وايه هي القيم الحكيمه للافراد نفسهم المكونين للاسره. وانا هنا ما قصدتش هنا خالص نوع ابنك او عايز ابنك يطلع ايه، مش ان هو يطلع يشتغل ايه او يعمل ايه، لا ان هو ازاي. ده السؤال ده مرتبط جدا بقيم الحاكمه للاسره ككل، زي مثلا قيمه بالنسبه لي انا وزوجي ان اولادنا يبقوا زي سايبين بصمه باسم عيله بيريز مثلا.
But there are some parents who will say, you are going to be a doctor. You are going to be, I don't know. You are going to be the best cook in all of Egypt.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, then you are going to bring shame to us. That's not a positive parent. That's like, I'm scared of you. And if I don't fulfill, there's shame, maybe they feel depressed.
بنلاقي اباء هم فعلا بيملوا على ابنائهم هم عايزين يطلعوا ايه لما يكبروا يشتغلوا ايه، وده من شأنه انه بيسبب الاولاد بيحسسهم بالخزي او بالعار ان هم ما يقدروش يعملوا زي ما ابائهم متصورين او عايزين لهم.
Sorry, I'll be really quick. So one of the challenges, and this is not based on any research in Egypt, it's very limited, and practicing with individuals and families, a lot of the people I work with, they really don't know what values are, even for their person. And this is really the biggest, and even when I ask them what their values are, a lot of the time they're not in sync with what they're behaving. And I think maybe this is Asma's, what she's struggling with. And this is the big, or sometimes they think it's their religion, they go to the beliefs of their religion, but they're not really practicing it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is quite a challenge. So what type of maybe interventions that you could help us use that could help?
Okay, I can break it down very simply.
Yeah.
طيب هو شيء انا شاهدته او لاحظته، هو مش مبني على ابحاث، ولكن ده شاهدته من ممارستي بالشغل مع الازواج، ان هم اصلا مش عارفين ايه هي القيم الحكيمه بتاعتهم، او بيبقى في تضارب بين اللي هم بيقولوه واللي هم بيعملوه، خاصه لو جاي من قيم دينيه. ويمكن ده اللي بتقابله برضه اسماء في ممارستها، ومحتاجين من حضرتك تقول لنا ايه هي التدخلات اللي تساعدنا في مواجهه المشكله دي.
Okay, so 2 questions. Number 1, what do you like and what don't you like?
سؤالين، ايه اللي انتوا بتحبوه او ما بتحبوهوش؟
Number 2, if I was going to talk to a family member who knows you well or a friend who knows you well, how would they describe you?
نمرة 2، لو اتكلمت مع حد من العيلة أو صديق مقرب هو هيوصفك هيقول عليك إيه؟
Could you please repeat the question?
لو اتكلمت مع صديق، أول حاجة إيه اللي بتحبه أو ما بتحبوش عامة؟ الأشياء اللي بتحبها والأشياء اللي ما بتحبهاش. وتاني سؤال، لو اتكلمت مع حد من العيلة أو صديق مقرب هو هيوصفك هيقول عليك إيه؟ أو هو شايفني إزاي؟
We don't have a lot of time to go through any more of these, but I just want to go quickly. Thank you so much for entertaining and participating and asking lots of questions. I almost feel like, please invite me back so I can do more if you like what I have to say. So, strategies for the parenting team, for the parents. Sometimes we need to write things down. You need to set aside time for the couple. These are some of the things you can tell them. Time to communicate, like for my husband and I, when all the kids go to bed, we spend time together, like watching TV or whatever, and then we sort of talk. It's not like we're going to have therapy and counseling at home. No, he's watching sports, I'm sitting and relaxing, and then we just talk about our children.
طيب من الاستراتيجيات المهمة إن الأزواج يبقى عندهم زي مذكرات أو يكتبوا، ويبقى في وقت ليهم بيربطهم أو بيوصلهم ببعض، زي مثلا لما أولادها بيناموا هي وزوجها بيبقى في وقت ليهم مع بعض، حتى لو هو بيتفرج على حاجة وهي قاعدة مرتاحة بس بيتكلموا مع بعض.
The other thing too is the last 3 bullets. One response to your children can model the next one, and then you can tell your clients or yourself or the couple, how is your parenting responsive, sensitive, and positive? And how did you set clear expectations? And did you actually do that?
طيب ممكن رد فعل او تفاعل واحد يبقى نموذج او بيوصلنا لتفاعل تاني او خطوه تانيه، وانه ازاي رد فعل ابوينا، احنا بنسال نفسنا او بنشارك ده مع الازواج، ازاي ابوينا كانوا متفاعلين معانا او كانوا حساسين او كانوا ايجابيين، وازاي يبقى عندنا تصور واضح في المستقبل.
Okay, so that's during the parenting phase. This is post-assessment, so this is after, you can ask them later or after they've been using positive parenting or really any sort of parenting, what worked and why, what didn't work and why, and what are the next steps for each part of the couple, the team, and the couple. And this one is the most important because if things work within the family and with the children and it's a good response, then you want to keep on doing it.
طيب ده تقييم بعد ما يكونوا الاباء طبقوا استراتيجيات التربيه الايجابيه، ايه الاشياء اللي نجحت معاهم وليه، وايه اللي ما نجحش وليه، وايه الخطوات البعديه لكل واحد او للزوجين او للفريق التربوي مع بعض.
Okay, so here's some references and resources. You have also the handout provided, and then you'll get the slides, and this is my contact.
في مراجع هتاخدوها او اخدتوها في السلايد، وده الايميل بتاعي.
So please keep in contact with me. Thank you so much, شكرا.
بدعوكم للتواصل معايا وشكرا جدا لدعوتكم ليا.
So what do you think?
ايه رايكم؟
Simple.
Happy parenting what?
Happy parents, happy children.
Really happy.
الاباء السعداء يجوا ابناء سعداء.
Do you think parenting plays a role in couples therapy?
Yes.
تعتقدوا انه الاباء بيلعبوا دور في العلاج الزواجي؟
هو اول خيط علشان هم اصلا يبداوا ثيرابي ويكملوا البيت، او مش اول خيط، من اهم القيود.
It's like the thread or the very basic step so that they carry on in parenting.
Okay. In our tomorrow when you hear about our divorce project, parenting is one of the big factors of divorce.
Yeah.
لما اشارككم بنتائج البحث اللي انا بعمله على الطلاق، انه التربيه هي من اهم الاسباب او اللي بتؤدي للطلاق.
You have one over-involved parent, one under-involved parent.
عندنا اب هو مندمج جدا او منغمس في العمليه التربويه، واب باعد خالص وشايل ايده من كل حاجه.
And many times they don't even speak about their roles.
وفي احيان كتير جدا هم اصلا مش بيتكلموا عن الادوار اللي بيلعبوها.
Which creates a greater distance.
وده من شأنه ان هو بيباعد بينهم اكتر.
And it's another building block for their ultimate divorce.
وكأنه بيبني عوائق تانية في زواجهم وبيؤدي للطلاق.
I'm looking at my watch right now. It is 10 minutes till 12.
12 ل 10.
I think we're ready for a break, right?
Yeah.
ناخد بريك دلوقتي.
But I want to take a break and then we will take our time for prayer.
I need to break and the time for
Yeah.
break together. هناخد بريك ووقت للصلاة برضو.
So I have it's 11:50. Will 12:50 be good? Yes.
نرجع 1 ل 10.
Or what? Or do we just do 1 o'clock?
لا لا
1 ل 10.
لا قلت العشرة عشان عايزين نخلص.
Make sure that we finish the break.
We're going to take our break. This is also a good time to meet with Dr. Perez, some of her students as well. From about to be corrected.
There is one suggestion because we don't have anyone who's going to pray.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, really? Today we are not having anyone to pray, so we may take a short break right now for a coffee break, first coffee break. Then we can start in normal time. We don't have to wait till 1 after the Friday prayers. We don't have anyone who is going to do it.
Okay, so what time should we begin?
30 minutes.
Okay, so at 12:20 now.
20 minutes? Okay.
Yeah, at 12:20, so it's 30 minutes from now. Yes?
Okay.
نص ساعة هنيجي بعد نص ساعة.
Okay.
12:20 12 وثالث.
Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.